Greetings, webheads, and welcome to episode 27 of Witty Banter, yet another Marvel Crisis Protocol podcast. I'm Patrick.
I'm Alex.
I'm David.
I'm going to eat your brains and gain your knowledge.
We are here, for the most part apparently, to help you get better at and have more fun with your Crisis Protocol. Just a couple quick pieces of business to take care of before we dive into the main topic. First of all, I want to make a reminder that our next episode, we are going to be announcing the winner of our giveaway. We haven't done one of those for a little while, but we'll be giving away a War of Kings set to one of you guys webheads. To make sure that you're in the running for it, you need to be part of our Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/wittybantercast. You can join for as little as $1 a month. If you join at our $1 level, you get 1 entry. If you join at our $5 level, you get 2 entries. And then the other way you get an entry is if you can leave us a rating and a review on Apple or Spotify or wherever you get your podcasts. So just leave us a rating or review, send us a screenshot to wittybantercast@gmail.com or contact us on the socials, and we'll get you a giveaway entry, and then we'll draw that and we'll announce the winner at our next episode. Alex, we've also got an event that's coming up. Do you want to talk a little bit about Bugeater?
Absolutely. So this is Bugeater. I think this is the 12th year it's been going on. Oh my God, no, this is the 14th year. 14th year for Bugeater. It would have been 15, but COVID, 2020, that happened. But it's been 14 years. And this is our 4th year with MCP. It's a 3-day weekend event, Friday, Saturday, Sunday, May 30th through June 1st. Friday will be a team tournament. Saturday is the Contest of Champions. Could possibly trickle into Sunday if we need to do a top 8 cut. And then Sunday will be a what ifs weekend day. The previous what ifs that I've done before, though, I just come up with crazy random rules each round that benefits both players. Contest of Champions is a basic Challenger event. Any rules, models that have come out up to that day are legal. Same with What If, and same with the team tournament. The team tournament is singleton until we find out how if there's like any rotations, tactics wise. If that randomly were to happen, depending on what crises are, or I keep saying crises, tactics cards, I may change the rules on the tactics cards when it comes to singleton, but until then, cannot repeat characters, crisis cards, or tactics cards if you've never played in the singleton. Each day is $20, or you can purchase a bundle deal for $50 for the whole weekend. I've started sharing the Longshanks links on multiple Facebook pages, and we can get them shared in this episode's details. And ticket links are in the Longshank link.
Okay, so we'll include the link for Longshanks in the show notes, so you can check those out there. We'll also start putting the Longshanks link out on the Witty Banter feeds. Alex, I think you said it again, but I might have missed it. When is the event?
May 30th, 31st, and June 1st.
And do we know yet if the Contest of Champions portion is going to be an LVO qualifier?
It is an LVO qualifier. Contest of
Okay.
Champions has already been approved.
Okay, there you have it, webheads. You don't have any excuses now. If you're anywhere near the Omaha area, or come on, let's face it, even if you're not, Omaha's the middle of the country. It's not that bad of a flight. Come on, come see us. Come
We make
play with us.
8-hour drives to Chicago.
Well, it depends on who's driving.
Okay.
I know people we could make that far less than 8 hours. Let's just put it that way. So come join us. We'd love to see you at Bugeater. We'll put the links in the notes, and we hope to see you there.
And one thing I did want to mention, if it does help motivate people, the tickets do go to the local middle or local high school that hosts Bug Eater. It goes to their debate team, so that way they can, debate team and I want to say forensics team. They use it to get equipment, be able to take field trips, go to states if they make it. So it's a great way to help fund the school too.
They
Because
can really foster those master debaters.
They do.
Because I think we can all agree at this time in our nation's history, what we really need are more debaters. Okay, so what are you guys playing? I mean, we haven't had a chance to really kind of touch base on that. Maybe we can just chat a little bit about what's on our plates. David, what have you been playing lately?
I was playing webs for a little bit. I don't know how I feel about webs.
Is that because of the crisis change?
I feel like webs have, like, I don't know if it's like they have characters where you're like, I want to play this character, but then you're going against an opponent or a roster that has like tech that's good into that character. So you're like, well, then I don't want to take that character. And then so you start like kind of skewing a little bit, and I don't know what's going on.
So if you don't play webs, what do you think you might swing into?
I think I'm gonna give Shield. I'm gonna go back to Shield. I was thinking about Sif, and I really like Sif with Namor's leadership. So maybe that might be good.
Real quick, Patrick, I'm gonna give you, the rim tap, and with your swing joke.
Well, I was actually going to edit it out because it went over like such a Led Zeppelin, but now I'm stuck with it. Thanks, Alex.
Oh, I thought it was good. David just answered real quickly, so I didn't want to interrupt him.
Oh, okay. You want to talk a little bit in terms of why you think Sif with Shield would be good?
Well, she has her round one, like her charge is already up. She is like decently mobile, pretty tanky, and like unlocking skulls on her kit is just dumb. And then you add like a Namor reroll and possibly even a Zemo reroll, and now it gets pretty ridiculous.
That sounds fun. It sounds like a list. It sounds like a list that you would play it, which sounds terrifying to go up against. JP, how about you? What are you looking at playing?
Well, the Yondu Nova box dropped, so I was obliged to dip my toes back into that ooey gooey guardian hole.
Yeah, you've been playing that for a few weeks now, right?
Yeah, I've been playing Oops All Guardians, so I have no splashes. We did have a tournament where I went a little try hard and I added 2 splashes, but they were Hulk and Crimson Dynamo, and I had never ended up playing either of them the whole tournament. So even though they were there in spirit, I have literally put Oops All Guardians on the table or the splashes were there in spirit. I put Oops All Guardians on the table for the past, I don't know, since the box was released. Alex, when was that?
January 31st.
Boom.
Wow.
Look at that recall. Yeah, so since about a month. And they've been pretty good.
Yeah, I was just gonna say, do you feel like you've had enough playtime to develop an opinion on Yondu and Nova?
Not on Yandu yet. He's like range 5 characters are just really good. I think they can just reach out and touch a lot of people that even range 4 people. I mean, obviously range 4 people can't touch, but it's just surprising sometimes. Like, oh shit, yeah, I can hit that guy because I'm range 5. He's weird. He's like there's some redundancy there. Guardians have a lot of ranged attack characters who don't necessarily want to get in a scrum, and he kind of, I don't know if he's like bad redundancy, but sometimes when I'm squad building, I'm like, I don't know if I want all the dudes who do that. So I'm kind of, I don't know. I'm kind of lukewarm on Yandu right now. I feel like his tactics card, the Plundered Goods, has some potential with the fact that he can get dazed and still have the like essentially the aura up with like double reroll against anyone holding extracts is pretty good. Depending on the map type, we'll have to see what it looks like with the new maps. I'm still playing all the old stuff. I'm giving it one last hurrah before it's out, so I'm playing demons and gamma and all the shit people hate. But that's just because I like those, and I know like I'm never gonna have a chance to play them again, and the fact that the new cards aren't out yet, and I don't want to just like print stuff off and whatever. I'm just lazy. So I'm like kind of middling on Yondu, but I haven't put him on the table as much as Nova. Nova, I've basically played like every game. I don't think there's been a game where I didn't put Nova on the board since I started playing the list, and he's really good. I know some people think he's kind of whatever, kind of middle of the road, but I actually really like him.
Anything that surprises you about either Yondu or Nova? I mean, we kind of had our hot takes when they came out. Anything that either affirm those or put some of them wrong, or just something that surprised you about either one of those guys?
Well, I'll admit that I haven't put Yondu on the board that much. I even like when I took him out, when I splashed those characters for the tournament, I actually had taken them out for Dynamo at the 4th ret because I just wasn't running Yondu that often. So I've probably put him on the board like maybe 3 times as opposed to Nova, which is, I don't know, probably a dozen or more. So Yondu hasn't given me enough reps to really surprise me with anything. I played him on Scoundrels, and I expected him to be a fucking ace against Alex, and he just ate all the sloppy dicks the whole game. He couldn't kill a toad for like 3 rounds. Alex can vouch for this shit. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was pretty rough.
And obviously, that's just a dice thing, but I still blame it on Yondu, that dipshit.
It seems totally fair.
I
it's
also think.
interesting. Go ahead, David.
I also think that with Yondu, he kind of competes with AV a little bit, so it's probably a little bit harder to get him on the table.
Yeah, that's another character I've been putting on the table way more. Before, AV was kind of more of like a counter, not a counter pick, but I would be more selective when I took AV. Now I'm taking AV a lot more liberally, and that dude is just, I mean, I've always kind of liked AV, but that guy he's a beast. He wears a lot of hats, and he does a lot of fucking work, especially with that, like between his web swing, his throw, and his beam. That dude just he just surprises both me and my opponent.
His beam is pretty fucking good.
But Nova,
and the fact he ignores modification is like so huge. I think in the meta now, there's like most rosters are gonna have that kind of character where you're like, fuck, I gotta shut down their rerolls so that I, can get through their defenses.
Yeah, like if somebody's playing against a shield roster with all kinds of rerolls.
Or webs.
Yep.
Agent Venom has been David's bane the past few times I've played him.
Yeah. he KO'd Namor,
That was
Zemo,
so
and
stupid.
fuck. Who else did he KO? He KO'd some Spectacular, maybe?
He's like, yeah, make some room. I'm slapping my beam down. Nova surprised me a little bit with his defensive reroll. I will say, I thought it was complete trash, and I still don't think it's awesome. But I do use it way more than I thought I would initially. Although I don't know, that's kind of a double-edged sword because I feel like there were, like I lost a game last week because I think I used it too liberally, and it put too much of a crimp in his output because Nova is at his best when he's beaming as often as he can. So if you're playing Nova, I think you should really take into consideration the amount of power you're going to have on his activation, because obviously his activation with the beam is way more impactful. I don't really have to say it, but man, from experience, overusing that defensive reroll and sacrificing a beam turn really hurts. The fact that he's just a long mover with the range 5 beam lets him set up disgusting shots that I don't think any other beamer in the game can do necessarily. I mean, yeah, I'm just gonna say it. I there might be some cases where that's not true, but Nova is just kind of like a beam assassin.
Yeah.
The only thing is, like, he doesn't have like great single target damage, but I mean, it's not terrible. Like, you get to throw 10 dice, and if you're playing him in Guardians, you get a winging it token. So 10 dice with 2 rerolls is pretty good against most characters. Like, if you spike just a little bit, you can evaporate somebody. So, and then you're getting more shots with the rest of the beam. So I've really been liking Nova. He is a little squishy, like 7/7 with 4s across the board is acceptable, but you definitely need to play him. Well, it depends on what you're playing into also. I feel like he is way, like, at his best when he's not playing into a team that can bully you.
Yeah.
When your team can bully the opponent, he is just a menace. But if you're playing against a team with a lot of assassins, he just kind of gets chewed up, taken off the board kind of quick. So he's kind of weird because all of his pushes are obligatory with his gainer and then his beam, and his beam has an obligatory place too. So it gets kind of awkward when you have to like push the last target and then, well, if you roll the wild and then place next to them as well. So it's kind of not ideal, like not an ideal mechanic to have like a mandatory push on his stuff, but it's fine. Like I really like him. Star-Lord's always a beast. I've been putting Bill on the table every game too. Bill's still a hoss. He just can't eyes on the prize anymore or whatever. So yeah, Guardians, I'm liking them. I don't the idea was to just like jam Nova and Yondu with the Guardians list and just kind of get reps with them and like not worry about cutting stuff for splashes and just trying to get as many reps as I could with the new guys. And it kind of was sort of to use Galaxy's Greatest to optimal effect, because obviously if you're running all Guardians, like your windows for using Galaxy's Greatest are way bigger, and you're gonna get more mileage out of the card. Galaxy's Greatest is a pretty good card. When you can add a dice to each attack and dice to each defense reroll, you can almost play Guardians like super like kind of suicidal, where you can overextend them and stuff, and then get them flipped and then pop Galaxy's Greatest and have them beefier. But a lot of that kind of depends on prio too. That gets a lot weaker when your opponent has prio. So, yeah, they've been fun though.
I think it's interesting that when we were talking about their cards when they dropped, your excitement for Yondu was way higher than your excitement is now. not to say it's like a large amount, but just in comparison. And it was the opposite with Nova. Your excitement was just kind of meh on him. You still
Mm-hmm.
liked him, but you were just kind of meh on the fact that he worked very similar to Juggernaut. But
Yeah.
then once you started putting him on the table, complete different feeling.
Yeah, I was really excited for Yandu, and I'm not sure. I think he's just been the times I put him on the table, he's just been kind of lackluster, I guess.
Which
And
is fair.
and the whole redundancy thing, like with between putting Star-Lord and Agent Venom on the table, you're already at 7 threat, and then if you decide to take Rocket, that's like 9 with like a bunch of range attacks. Yondu, I mean, with ease, it's easier. We'll have to see with the new crises what happens. I think you can still put together a decent like gunline type list with the secure scenario, the secure setups. So I
For
don't know.
sure.
We'll see. I'm gonna keep him in there. I'm gonna keep getting reps. I'm not gonna give up on him because I haven't really given him his enough of a test drive to really make a call. But the games I played him, he's just been a severe disappointment. Well, the one against you was just absurdly bad, and then the other ones he didn't really redeem himself too much, but he was definitely better in those games though. But Nova's just been pretty consistently good.
How about you, Alex? What have you been playing?
Well, I've been playing Apocalypse, as everybody knows at this point. But I want to move away from Apocalypse so that way I don't get
Ooh.
bored of him. I know, I know. I just don't want to get bored of him though. I love the affiliation so much. I love the characters. They're super fun. And now that I've gotten into a groove of how they work, I don't want to get bored of it.
I feel you on that one, Alex, because it was kind of hard for me to switch from APOC because I was still really liking him.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I still really like him. I don't want to get bored.
well,
And I
and Alex,
highly doubt they'll be changing and adding any characters to the affiliation anytime soon.
I don't think so. And you've been playing Apocalypse since Angel Day, so I can see
Yep.
needing to stretch your legs a little bit. If you swap? What would you be thinking about swapping to?
I'm going to fight Spider Foes again. I really
Oh,
like how they play. And with the new crises, it'll be fun to see how they work with those. But I'm changing my list up a little bit. I play almost all foes. I put 2 splashes in there. My first splash, I need a 2 threat, and it's almost always bullseye. And my other splash typically is Juggernaut. The whole theme behind it was Juggernaut and Bullseye were also Spider-Man bad guys in the comics, and they're just not part of the affiliation, but it's still got a similar theme. It's not like I'm throwing Ursa Major in there. Makes no sense, both list-wise and theme-wise.
poor Ursa
But
Major.
Bullseye in the new Daredevil show is the fucking goat.
I'm only one episode in so far, but my God, that episode one, that the first 10 minutes of that episode, whew.
but
Um,
one character, I'm dropping Juggernaut from my current list. Not because I don't like him. I just I want to see how Wrecking Crew play. I'm gonna put them in
Ooh.
there. Nobody in our meta or in our community is really playing them, so I don't. I already got Juggernaut. Why not go just a mini Juggernaut and see how that goes?
that's a great idea, and that fits thematically too, having the wrecking crew running around with spider foes. I could see that working.
Absolutely.
Yep. I got 2 rosters in my bag. I've still got my Dracula roster. Playing him with kind of all the characters that can take advantage of it. So I got Scourge and Zemo and Hela. And I've been kind of trying to mix a kaiju in with that. I had Hulk sitting there for a little bit. I had Thanos for a while, and then the Nerf hammer came down. So I've been trying to figure out who was next. So it might be Hulk. It actually might be Gladiator. We'll kind of see how that works. And then my first love is Guardians. Guardians might be my favorite Marvel product of all. And any
is that because of James Gunn? Or did you like the comics?
I liked the comic. I mean, the Marvel Guardians movies don't really feel much at all like the comic, except at least prior to the movies. I mean, now the comics definitely feel like the movies. It's just I don't know what it is about. The first Guardians movie might be my favorite movie of all time, not just Marvel movie, but movie.
God damn.
I know. There's a handful of movies that like I could watch every day. And that's on the list of my favorite movies. So just getting to play those characters, just getting to put those characters on the table makes me happy. And any adoptive parent who doesn't have a soft spot in their heart for Yondu, I don't understand you. But once Yondu came out, I was like, all right, I just got to start playing Guardians again. I haven't had a chance to actually play them yet. I've been gone for the last few weeks, but I'm gonna swap. So I'll be swapping between my Dracula list and my Guardians list, and we'll kind of see how that plays.
Yeah, I knew the Guardians players in our community, and probably just around the MCP community in general. The Guardians players were going to come out of the woodwork when Yondu and Nova showed up.
We were thirsty, bro.
And
apparently, you didn't get enough. You didn't get enough when you had Cosmic Ghost Rider.
I mean, for a little window there.
I think Guardians are pretty happy with the new Crises too. So I think that'll encourage more Guardians playing even more than even besides the fact that it's thematic.
I will say, we've had the discussion about Guardians movies, and it for a while there, it didn't even make my top 10. I will eat my words since our last conversation. We've been watching through the Marvel movies again, and when Guardians came on, it was a blast. Guardians 2 we randomly watched out of order, but it was just a random decision, and that movie has I think the second one's better than the first one personally, but those Guardian movies are so good. It's tough to say which one would make my top 10, but it's definitely my top 10 movies.
Yeah, the Guardians movies crush.
Yeah, even 3, which I think is the weakest of the 3 movies, is still awfully good.
I agree. It's better than the majority of the MCU.
I don't know that I'd...
Nope. You're wrong.
You know, I think if that means that Guardians 3's top half, yeah, no, I think you're right. I think it is better than the majority of the MCU. I'll go with you on that one. I'll allow it.
Well, yeah, when Thor has 4 movies and the first one is like a D minus at best. The second one is that was like a straight to TV, or should have been a straight to TV movie. And the fourth one was an F plus at best. I can only assume that Guardians 3 did better than those.
I am like the softest, most generous grader of Marvel movies. I'm just the biggest sucker in the world for them. And Love and Thunder's a bad movie.
Oh, it was so bad. It was so bad that I wish I picked a different movie for my free movie on a flight.
I've fallen asleep during 3 Marvel movies on the first watch. They were Captain America 1, Thor 1, and Thor 4.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You've done very bad with Thor. Ragnarok was the only good one, and that's partially because, one, we got Valkyrie out of it, or more Valkyrie out of it.
Valkyrie was so good in that movie. Come on now.
Yeah.
That movie was the shit.
Oh, yeah, she was great.
Kate Blanchett as Hela More, please. Oh my God.
Yeah, that was great. And then we got Hulk in there again. Like we got a. Let's be honest. They could have just called Ragnarok Hulk, because Hulk I thought stole that show in every scene he was in. Period.
I don't disagree with any of that. I don't disagree with any of that.
I also have to say I haven't seen Dark World, so if I was a betting man, I would probably say that I would have fallen asleep during that one too.
There's no doubt you would have. There's one reason for Dark World, and that was to introduce the Reality Stone. That's it.
Okay. Again, taking into account I might be a soft grader, but I watched Dark World again, and it was not nearly as bad as I remembered it. I don't know that it's still probably not a top half movie, but I don't hate Dark World nearly as much as I remembered hating it.
I could not understand a word Malekith was saying in that fucking movie.
I will say it is infuriating that 2 Thor movies wasted amazing actors as villains with Christopher Eccleston as Malekith and Christian Bale as just an unintelligible portrayal of Gore.
I mean,
I
Gore had
remember-
like 0 screen time. That made me so
Yeah.
sad.
And his character didn't even make sense. Like, so he's on this righteous path to murder all gods because the gods were mean to him. Then why was he like sadistically torturing the kids like he was the Joker? I just didn't get it.
I don't know.
Like,
I fell asleep. I don't.
It like the only thing that I could take out of Love and Thunder, like if you could just cut the Jane Foster story out and just have that, you'd be fine. That part I really liked, but everything else was disappointing.
What was your least favorite Thor movie, Patrick?
Oh, Love and Thunder. I mean, Love and Thunder might be my least favorite Marvel movie. That's probably in last place of the Marvel movies for me.
And it's so unfortunate because they had Guardians in there too. Like it was part Guardians movie, and the parts where Guardians and Star Lord were involved. That was great.
The director was like, what's his name? Taika Waititi or whatever.
Yep.
I feel
Well,
like he was just, they gave him too much room to masturbate, I think. Because
It's
he's
so
a
weird
good
'cause he
director.
did Ragnarok.
Yeah, exactly. He's done some good shit, but he just missed the mark on Love and Thunder. It just makes me sad because that movie could have been amazing.
I was really excited for it. Ragnarok was great. Some of Waiti's other stuff. I had just recently seen Jojo Rabbit. I mean, some of his stuff is fantastic. So I just thought Love and Thunder was gonna slap, and woof, it did not.
I was just gonna say I haven't seen Jojo Rabbit, but I really want to.
You should. It's really good.
You should. It's really good.
So, Patrick, with Love and Thunder being your least favorite Marvel movie, I have a question. Hypothetical. Would you
Okay.
rather watch Love and Thunder for 24 hours in a row with a Clockwork Orange type apparatus in your eyeballs where you can't blink, or scrape your balls across the Destroyer's back?
Is it? I just have to do it once.
Yeah, but like he's a big dude, and you have to go
Yeah.
like ass to head.
Oh,
I love how your response was,
yeah,
"We have to do it once." That was great.
yeah. That's a tough call. I think I'd probably go with Love and Thunder. So that was a really fun little dive into MCU movies. We should probably do that more often. But, we're more than a half hour in. We haven't gotten to the title topic, which is Gladiator. So let's take a look at Gladiator's card and see what we see here. His name's Gladiator. His alter ego is Calark. He's got 4 physical, 5 energy, 4 mystic, 9 health. He's a 6 threat, size 2, and he moves medium. That stays the same entirely on his backside. David, anything in particular stand out with regards to his stat line?
I mean, he's got 5 energy defense. I mean, that's pretty freaking good. And he's got a lot of health. I mean, he's like what a 6 threat. I mean, it's what 6 threats look like. I think it's good. Him being size 2 gets a little weird because there's so many things that can like throw him and push him and stuff, but I think it's fine.
Yeah,
With the
and-
charge, I think that's probably mitigated to a certain extent, but
Yeah, the fact that he doesn't really have any defensive tech means that it's probably a good thing he's got 18 health. But yeah, I would agree.
zero defensive tech and 0 immunities, right? That's another
Right.
thing that sticks out. Usually, when most 6 threats have some sort of immunity. This guy is just dick in
Yeah.
the wind. He's ready to get bled.
Not that, and as we'll get into with his confidence stuff, his not only taking damage just hurts him damage-wise, but it also limits his offensive output. So feels like he's just kind of in a weird spot, even with all the health that he's got. Because I think, does anybody other than Hulks, does anybody have that much? An 18 health pool?
I don't think so. CGR is 16.
I mean,
Yeah. I guess if
Magneto's 14.
the only model I can think of that we can kind of count it that way is Hulkbuster.
Yeah, Hulkbuster is
Because-
what, 13.5? He has 18.
Yep, 13.5.
So he's
Doesn't-
tied.
doesn't
The
Party
Sentinel
Girl-
Prime. The Sentinel
Oh,
Prime
yeah.
is 18 health too.
Yeah. That's,
God, if
that's-
anybody should
and
have-
he's 1 less. He's 5 threat.
Yeah, if anybody should remember that, that's me. Oof. Okay, so Gladiator's got 3 attacks. I'll run through them real quick. First, he's got a physical attack, Predator Punch, range 3, 6 dice. It is a builder, and on a wild, you get suppressive. After the attack is resolved, the target character loses a power for each wild in the attack roll. His second attack is an energy attack, I-Beam. It is beam 4, 5 dice for 2 power, and on a wild you incinerate. And then his spender is Majester's Might. It's a physical attack, range 3, 10 dice, 5 power. On a wild you stagger, and on a wild, before damage is dealt, you throw the target character away short. JP, well, what do we think of his attack suite?
I don't know if it can properly be judged without knowing his superpower confidence token thing.
Yeah.
So it's kind of taken out of context, but just at face value, like 6 dice at a 6 threat is decent. Like it's pretty on point. The I-Beam is like a beam 4 is always good. Like it costing 2 is a little sus without knowing anything else. His spender is pretty beefy. It's basically Hulk Smash on steroids at like a longer range with one more power, and the throw is away. But it's very akin to Hulk Smash. Yeah, Hulk Smash is unrestricted as well.
Yep. Yeah, let's just cut to the chase because I think you're right. It really is an integral part of his kit. He has the Majester's Bravado. When this character deals damage with a Praetor Punch, after the attack is resolved, this character gains 1 confidence token. When this character suffers a damage, it loses 1 confidence token. This character may have a maximum of 5 confidence tokens at any time. When this character makes an attack, it adds 1 die to the attack roll for each confidence token it has. So all of a sudden, that Praetor Punch could be 11 dice.
Yeah.
And that works for all of his attacks. So his I Beam could be a 10 dice. Majesture's Might could be a 15 dice. So yeah, Gladiator could hit hard.
Yeah. I'm really interested to put him on the table to actually see real world examples of confidence tokens because I don't know. Taking damage just randomly from enemy characters is pretty common. Well, not even enemy characters, just in general. And then you stack like the scenario on top of it. You've got cubes. I guess Paranoia will be out, but we've got Deadline to Destruction that can ping him if he chooses not to drop his extract.
Yep.
Trying to think of some other stuff like Bleed is gonna hit him.
Madmen.
Fisk still hits him. Madmen hits him. Yeah. So and then I don't know, like Explosive, throwing him into things hurts him, or well, does the damage to him and takes off a confidence token. I don't know. He's interesting.
Elsa's leadership will do it too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The bang or boom or whatever it is.
Yeah. So I mean, what we see is there's a ton of way that Gladiator can get chip damage on him to take his confidence down. So
I think there's going to be teams who are going to struggle to ping him, and there's going to be teams who can really keep him in check. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah. Let me run through the rest of his superpowers. He's got for Empress and Empire, it's an action. Immediately, he makes a move action followed by a Praetor Punch. If the attack deals damage, the character gains 1 confidence token. Superpower can only be used once per turn. That's for 3 power. Imperial Authority. Choose an interactive character of size. An interactive terrain feature of size 4 or less within 2 of the character and throw it long. Used only once per turn. That's 3 power. Alpha Strontian Physiology. During the power phase, he gets an additional power, and he has flight, which, as we've observed, that means he has no immunities. Alex, anything specifically stand out to you from his superpower suite?
Well, his charge, I really like his charge. It gets his ball rolling if you can get a hit in and or at least 1 damage and with this charge, so you're getting 2 confidence tokens. And then if you play the tactics card that we'll cover soon, he can get 3 confidence tokens with 1 attack, which super nice.
Yeah, I'm glad you pointed that out because I don't know that it's entirely obvious, but you get a confidence token for the charge, and then you get another confidence token just for his standard rule about doing a damage for a Praetor Punch. So you can build up 2, and you're right with the card, build up 3 confidence tokens with 1 charge.
Yeah, super good, and this character with his superpowers and his tactics cards, he just seems like a literal snowball. If he can snowball one direction or the other, depending on which side of the table you are against him, it gets either really good or really bad. And if he can stick with the really good for yourself, he's gonna be a menace if you cannot get those confidence tokens off of him.
David, what do you think of kind of his card as a whole? He's a 6 threat. How does he stack up to some of the other 6 threat kaijus that we have?
I mean, this guy, he's straight up, he's a beat stick. That's what he's trying to do. I think when you put him on the table, he's going to kind of give your opponent, I don't want to say like a clock, but kind of like a thing that they're going to have to be aware of, because you can't let this guy's tokens just like go crazy, right? So he's kind of going to end up with a target on his back a little bit, but maybe that's good. Maybe you can use it to like distract your opponent with.
Yeah, it strikes me that, without having played it yet, but it does strike me that Gladiator almost demands that you go melt him first. And I suppose that you can use that to your advantage. JP, what do you think of his kit as a whole?
I mean, the man has a mohawk and an 8-inch popped collar on his hood. How can you not like him? How can you not like this kit?
That is 100% baller. I'm with you on that.
The 1980s really pushed this character, I feel.
I'll echo the language that David used. He is a beat stick. We'll have to see if he's oppressive or not. There's a lot of Thor, like Fat Thor echo here. Especially after the Fat Thor nerf that brought his attack down to 6. There's a lot of parallels here. Like their spenders are very similar. They both have like a long throw. Thor has the pounce and the clapback, but Gladiator has the whole like confidence token mechanics. So there are some differences, but a lot of similarities. We'll have to see if he's in line or not. It's hard. It's very hard to judge without putting him to the test, because the confidence token mechanic is so unique. We haven't seen anything like this. It's going to be interesting to see how many resources are going to have to an opponent will have to allocate to keep the confidence tokens down, and whether or not that resource allocation is going to put them at a disadvantage in the game in general. If that's the case, he might feel oppressive. If you can kind of tap him with incidental damage fairly consistently, it will probably feel like he's kept in check and is probably on the power level of a 6. But if you cannot do that, this dude is going to run away with the game and just I-beam your whole team until like back to their to yesterday. Like a 10 dice beam 4 is just not something you want to play with, especially 2 of them. So I don't know. We'll see. I do like his kit. The 5 energy is interesting, I think, because a lot of times when there's a really elevated defensive characteristic, people will immediately think of pay to flips. But with the energy pay to flips, it's kind of weird. And I guess with portals being gone, it doesn't really matter there. But if we were just talking about him interacting with portals, there's a very high chance that he gets teleported, which sucks. And then
I was going to mention something like that because it makes him like really good at meteors, but it makes his kit bad at meteors.
He's fucking terrible at meteors, though. He takes the pain and loses the confidence token.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying. Like for the actual
I'm agreeing
scenario,
with you. Yeah, I'm agreeing.
He's good at it. It's just but his kit is bad for it.
Yeah. So there's like a duality with that energy defense and pay to flips. Whereas physical, there's only Madmen, right? Everything else is, because sword's going to be out, and then the 1 is just going to be a raw 3 dice with a reroll if they're holding an extract, and then there's another pay to flip, right?
Yeah, it's just a straight roll 3 dice, hit crit or wild.
Okay.
Yeah. And then there's the new sword, but
yeah. So the actual defenses are less relevant for pay to flips, but still, like I think Meteors is going to be an interesting scenario for him. I don't even know if you like. It kind of seems counterintuitive, but I don't even know if you run him on meteors. Like that just seems like you're shooting yourself in the foot. But
Unless you've got the rest of your team to do the mediators and you've just got Gladiator
yeah,
do the beat sticking.
but then you're basically running like a CGR, which is
I was
guess,
just gonna say
fine,
that.
but-
Yeah. David, what do you think of this guy? How does his power generation, do you think? Is he going to be able to generate enough power to juice his kid up?
So I mean, he starts out with 2, so he's obviously, what is that? 66% of the way there to a charge already.
Yeah. It just seems like he's so incentivized to want to spend at least 3 for that charge. And then his throw's real good, but that's 3. And then you've got that spender that's standing out there that, boy, that's a lot of nice stuff, but man, 5 power.
I think mechanically, this character is probably going to be the most feast or famine character we have seen in the game.
Agreed.
Is that because of the confidence token mechanic, you think?
Yeah, for sure. Because I mean, you got a 6 threat rolling around, throwing 6 dice. Like that's very average. I mean,
Right.
we've got stuff that's. I mean, Scourge throws 6 dice, 3 threat.
Yeah.
Like this dude's double. But on the other hand, if this guy snowballs and he just spikes early in the game and he's able to Praetorian, what is it? For the Empress and Empire into Praetorian Punch or Praetor Punch and like just generate 3 tokens around and your opponent can't really mitigate that. Like this dude's just gonna run away with the game. The games he is beating you, it's gonna feel real bad.
Yeah.
But on the games where you can keep him in check, he's probably gonna feel kind of a little chained.
And we'll get into the conversation a little bit in terms of where he fits in, but boy, it seems like anybody that can get him an extra power on round 1 so he can charge round 1 and get those 2 confidence tokens in his pocket, that seems to be pretty good for him.
Yeah, that's kind of the thing that I mean. He shouts out for like a Black Bolt 1 or Steve 1,
Yeah. Or
even
Professor X.
Professor X, or even like a Star Lord to give him the 2 rerolls. Professor X would be really good because Professor X can give him at least 1 reroll plus the superpower.
Yep.
That and it's super thematic.
I was just gonna say that does fit thematically.
Well, and giving him the ability to like activate late in the round on round 1, charge something, maybe pull 2, and then activate with prio, and then maybe like pull 2 more, and then you're like, oh, okay, this guy's getting crazy.
Yeah, you definitely want to activate this guy early just to take advantage of the confidence tokens he has at the top of the round, which is, I guess it plays. I mean, when you're playing a 6 threat, typically you want to activate them early to deny your opponent activations because you're probably more narrow and you can get away with an an unactivated daze or KO and still maintain prio. So I don't think that hinders the game plan at all.
Yeah.
And it definitely plays into what he's doing.
Alex, he's got really good defensive stats and he's got 9 health on both sides, but he has no defensive tech at all. Do you think that there's a risk that he's going to be, relative to his threat level, just kind of easy to focus fire and take down?
Yes and no. Having the defense, his defenses, what they are, that really helps him. I feel playing Apocalypse, being 4s across the board. Okay, so my Apocalypse defense rolls are not a good example because I tend to roll shit for his defense. But point is, I mean, there have been times where having the 4 defense, it feels fine, and it really does take concentrating firepower to really knock him down, especially if there's not another 6th threat on the table to really do anything. So it's a similar defense board, or like a defensive stat line there, and
Does
like
Apocalypse have a
rapid-fire
10-inch
teams might
mohawk? That's the question.
do what?
Does Apocalypse have a 10-inch mohawk?
No, and that's kind of what I was gonna get. No, I was not gonna get into that. I was thinking rapid fire teams might be a problem for this guy, strictly just due to the number of dice he has to roll. And eventually, dice are just gonna tell him you're gonna take damage, and then he's gonna lose his confidence. And I think rapid fire teams will be more of a problem for him. And then other 6
Characters-
threats, I feel like will just kick him in the dick a little harder.
Characters with throws on their builders
Oh
are
yeah,
going to be real good into this guy too.
So I think obviously thinking about him with 5 confidence tokens is super fun, but let's say on average he's gonna have 2 confidence tokens on him when he's activating. If he's got that, David, do you think that his offensive output justifies the threat level that you've got putting him on the table?
I mean, here's the thing. If this guy activates with 2 tokens like on him and he has enough power to charge and it's like, okay, I'm throwing 8 dice, then if I pull 2 tokens off of this, I'm throwing a 9 dice beam at you.
Yeah.
Like that's a lot.
Yeah. And with the charge, he can get himself set up to maximize his beam.
Yeah, I mean, there are going to be games where this guy, if he can have, even if he has an activation that's like charge with say 7 dice, and then throw an 8 dice beam plus throw a terrain piece at somebody, man, that's pretty good output.
I mean, I'm just gonna say it, guys. Given the track record of 6 threats and people's outcry against them, this guy is going to be a problem.
Okay.
Whether or not it's deserved or not is a different story. I think it probably will be. I do feel like the problem is it's like the spectrum of Gladiator games is going to be like the highs are going to be so high that people are going to revolt in the streets with signs and pitchforks. Like they're going to be so angry at this man because they got their whole team beamed for 10 dice twice. They're going to be so angry. And I mean, in a way I can't blame them because MCP is a dice game, and sometimes the dice just run away. And when the dice run away on Gladiator, it's going to be a holocaust.
And people do tend to the bad experiences tend to stick with you much more than the good experiences. So I do think there's a risk of that. Alex, how do you feel like Gladiator stacks up to King Black Bolt?
It's so funny that you mentioned that because I was going to say it. I'm guessing it now. Next year, LVO, Nerf Hammer's coming down on Black Bolt and Gladiator because that's what the finals are going to be.
Yeah, go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say, like, I think with them compared to each other, I feel they play 2 completely different roles. Gladiator's definitely the beat stick, like JP and David had said, but I feel Bolt is more of a scenario player. Don't get me wrong, he can definitely bring the beat down, but that beam he has with those pushes, it is just so much more of a scenario play, in my opinion, than he is a beat stick. So they play I think they'll play differently. And in comparison, though, if you put them both on the table, I don't want to play against that.
Okay, let's maybe run through some final thoughts on his kits before we get into his tactics card. David, any kind of final thoughts on Gladiator, his card?
I mean, he's pretty. I think, he's so vulnerable to status effects, and this dude does not want to be shocked. He does not want to be stunned. He doesn't want bleed.
He doesn't really even want poison.
Incinerate,
Yeah.
I feel, is his worst one, though. Or Hex. Hex and Incinerate would be the worst ones for him. I mean, it's probably the worst for most everybody to begin with, but it's even more so on this guy.
I'd argue against Incinerate. I don't think that's. I think Shock is going to feel way worse.
I don't
than
know, because
Incinerate.
with the Shock, I get what you're saying there, but
It depends on when you
with the
shock him, I
Incinerate-
suppose. If you shock him early and he has no confidence tokens, it's going to really impact his snowball effect.
Right, and then I feel the Incinerate's a little more impactful on him, because not only is he rolling less defense dice, there's a better chance of damage getting through, so then he's losing his confidence tokens, and it snowballs in the opposite direction for him.
Yeah, I could see that.
Possibly, yeah. Stun is a bad one too.
Yeah, I think
bleed pulling confidence tokens.
They're all bad. Bleed is really bad too.
I think we've agreed that all of the status effects are bad for him. Any other thoughts, JP, on Gladiator?
Not really. We'll have to see where the chips fall with him. I think there's been a history of a difficulty balancing high threat characters. It's not even a thing I think. It's just objectively true. And I think he's going to test that further.
Alex, any kind of final thoughts on Gladiator before we move on to his tactics cards?
I mean, we beat the dead horse with the conditions. That was really the only thought I had, which we've said. And if you want to know how to deal with a kaiju, you can listen to Witty Banter.
Well, that's always a good idea. I mean, there's never a question that's not a good answer for. Okay, so he's got 2 tactics cards. The first of his tactics cards is Praetor of the Imperial Guard. It is an unaffiliated active card. During Gladiator's activation, he may pay 4 to play this card. Choose up to X other allied characters, where X is equal to the number of confidence tokens Gladiator has. Each chosen character gains 2 power. David, is this card any good?
I am still not exactly sure how I feel about this card.
Well, what's kind of what are you balancing in your mind with it?
Hold on, I'm looking at the wording on it.
4 power seems like a lot, and I remain skeptical that he's not going to have a power generation problem. I'm more than willing to be wrong, but man, that's taking his charge offline, unless he's really juiced up. So I don't know. JP, what do you think of the card?
I think this card is crusty dingleberry butthole.
Tell us what you really think. Why do you come to the dingleberry conclusion?
I mean, I echo the 4 power on it. This guy wants power. His beam costs power, his charge costs power, his throw costs power. He just wants power. He wants to be the one spending power. He doesn't want to spend power to give his allies 2 power. I just don't see, to even break even, you have to give it to 2 to make it like break symmetry. You have to do it for 3, and then I feel like the 6th threat can use power better than probably other people on his team. So I don't know. I just don't. When he has a lot of confidence tokens, that's the other argument. So if he has a lot of confidence tokens to give his allies power, he is going to be able to do a lot of damage. So you probably are going to want to be using his power to take advantage of the confidence tokens to deal damage. I'm just not the other thing is that you have to find a window where he has a lot of confidence tokens and your other characters want 2 power. Like 2 power is never bad, but obviously there are points in the game where 2 power is way better for characters than other points of the game. Like when your characters have like 5-6 power, like 2 power is good, but it's not like when they have 1 power and you like triple their power. So I just don't like this card. I think it's bad in a number of ways. And I don't know what bullet point I'm on 4 is it competes with his other card, and I think his other card's better. Not that it competes, but like taking 2 cards for 1 character is kind of a tall order typically. I mean, even for a 6th threat, unless his name is Apocalypse,
especially on an unaffiliated character.
Yeah.
Well, plus, I mean, he is a 6th threat. So at most, you're going to be 5 wide. So your best case scenario is you're handing 2 power out to 4 characters. I mean, it strikes me if you're going to maximize this card, you'd play it at the end of his activation if you activated him first. So he's had a chance to juice himself up both with confidence tokens and with power. And even then, so say you give 4 of your characters 2 power. That's nice, but is it burning 4 power and a tactics card slot nice? I'm not convinced. Alex, what do you think?
JP basically covered everything that I was going to mention about the card. I don't think it's that great of a card. It's neat because like JP said, characters getting power is always good. Better in certain circumstances than others, but power is always good in almost every situation. But it's that 4 power cost that really hurts it, and then it depends on how many confidence tokens you have. It makes me wonder like what they did in playtesting with this one, because it's like I feel if it was 3 power, it might get taken more often, possibly even 2. But maybe they just had some situations where he snowballed really fast and could not lose any confidence tokens. And when it was 2 power, handing out 10 power, that was just phenomenal. But then 3 was still too much. I don't know. I don't like it. It's not that great.
David?
So,
Okay, yeah. I was going to ask if you had any other thoughts on the card.
So I kind of am a little bit where JP's at, where I question the relevancy of when this card is going to be good. Because let's say in a perfect world, let's say he has 10 power and a bunch of confidence tokens, right? He probably wants to charge. And I mean, he's going to charge, he's going to punch you, and he maybe spend or throw a terrain piece. If you're spending 4 power to do this, you're not doing one of those things.
Yeah, I guess I was more thinking that you do it at the end of his activation after he's burned everything up, if he's generated enough power to have that left on his card. But then you're going to want to have that for your next turn to get your charge back online again. I mean, it strikes me that you wouldn't ever use it unless you had at least 5 power, because you'd want to have 1. So at the next round, you'd have 3 to charge. So yeah, I think I think we've reached a consensus that the card is exceptionally meh.
I feel like his play pattern is probably not gonna be Praetor Punch twice if he can help it. If that's the only thing he can do, that's fine. But he's probably gonna want to beam and or throw terrain with his power.
Or get himself juiced up enough where he can go put like a 13 dice spender into somebody with a stagger and a throw.
Yeah. I mean, a single target damage can get crazy with enough confidence tokens to make this card good. Like the spender is probably just a better use of his power.
Right.
Because his spender starts 10 dice, and it just gets ridiculous.
Yeah. I would agree. Okay. His second card is Protector of the Empire. It is an unaffiliated reactive card. When another allied character is dazed or KO'd, an allied gladiator may pay 3 power to play this card. Gladiator may advance medium towards the enemy character that caused the effect, then make a Praetor Punch attack against it. If this attack dazes or KOs the enemy character, after the attack is resolved, Gladiator gains 1 confidence token. So JP, you had said that you thought this card was better than the other one. Why do you think that?
This card is seeing red with a shot of TRT in the ass. Like you get to move medium with a medium base character with a range 3 attack. You can almost guarantee that this guy attacks whoever killed your person. Where it's not like seeing red was an oppressive card, but it was a very good card, and it was a card that got rotated because it had potential to be an issue, possibly. That's the only thing I can think of why it was rotated. It was rotated before this last round of rotations, which tells me that they thought. They were trying to kind of get rid of the quote unquote problem neutral cards. I don't think seeing red was ever an issue, but it was a good card. It was just that there were so many other good neutral cards. But it costs the same amount, it has the same effect, but you get to advance medium. And then it has the added bonus of giving a confidence token if he dazes or KOs.
Yeah.
So this card's just good. This card is very, very good.
David, this card would trigger off a grunt, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I was just gonna say it triggers off grunts, and you can he's probably if you set this up right, he's gonna gain 2 confidence tokens, right? So he could sneak some tokens in before he activates. That's pretty fucking cool.
Not to mention get a medium out of activation move.
Plus, also dazing or KOing somebody in their own activation is really fucking good.
This card is. I think objectively, this card is just an auto take with Gladiator. If you're putting Gladiator on the table, you're slapping this card down with him, because not only is it a good card, but it's a superior seeing red, and it just plays into the Gladiator game plan of gaining tokens.
Yeah.
Because even if you don't KO them, if you do damage to them, he's going to gain a confidence token off of it.
Yeah. Alex, what do you think?
I like this card way more than the other one. You guys all covered it again. Out of turn movement, out of activation movement, great. A free, not necessarily a free attack, but an attack in general, great. Out of activation attack, better. And then getting those confidence tokens, because it's so important to his kit, is just icing on the cake. And then the fact that it's cheaper than the other card is just a cherry on top that makes it better than the other card. I really like it.
So the only thing I can think of maybe negative is I think we kind of agreed that when you put Gladiator on the table, he's probably going to be the primary target. So I suppose the argument is Gladiator going to be getting beat up and dazed and KO'd before your other allied characters are going to be targeted? That's kind of the only maybe negative I could think, is it might play against the way that we think characters are going to play into Gladiator. But I mean, it's not like your other characters are never going to get attacked. So yeah, I agree. I think this card's a staple to Gladiator.
So I just thought of something. So I feel like any rosters that are going to be running Sacrifice and Gladiator are going to be looking at this card going, oh, I can just sacrifice this into Wong. Wong dies. Now I punch the fuck out of whoever hit Wong.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that yeah, or if you've got a grunt character. Any final thoughts on the two tactics cards that Gladiator has, JP?
No, I will say you maybe I misunderstood, but you can't sack into a grunt character
Oh, you're right.
because they have to pay power as well.
You're right. That's right.
But I think final thoughts. I think I said everything I needed to say about him.
David, anything else?
No.
Alex?
About the tactics cards? No, I've got nothing else.
Okay. So Gladiator, at least right now, does not have an affiliation. I mean, I know personally I'm hoping that we're going to get the rest of the Imperial Guard and get an Imperial Guard affiliation, but as of right now, no affiliation. So what affiliation do you think is Gladiator's best home, David? Or what would you be looking at in terms of how an affiliation benefit could help him?
So, like I immediately look at any affiliations that give him access to dice modification. Like that's like no brainer, right? So, I mean, like Daredevil, he seems fantastic. Like Shadowland, not that anybody's actually playing Shadowland, but like Shadowland seems kind of crazy with that beam. Like any of those kind of, and the other thing too is any of those leaderships that let you like Daredevil's, you can use Daredevil's leadership on this Protector of the Empire tactics card, right? So that's pretty cool. You could do the same thing with, say, like Elsa. Like you could use Elsa's leadership with this card if he has the power.
JP, what do you think about affiliation homes for Gladiator?
I'm only going to try him in Guardians because like a medium base, medium move plus a range 3 attack is going to be able to hit stuff. I don't know exactly all the crises with the new crises coming out, all exactly it can hit, but definitely hits past midline. So 6 dice plus 2 rerolls. On average, you're probably going to do a damage, so you'll get 1 token, and then you'll start the round with 1 token. Maybe you have prio. If you did the damage from the previous turn, you have at least 3 power. You gain 2. You have 5. You're gonna be able to charge, punch. You'll gain 2 more. You'll have 3 at that point. Eye beam for 8 with a terrain throw possibly at the top of round 2 seems pretty deadly. I think also we talked about a little earlier. We touched on it with like Charles and Steve 1, Bolt 1, anyone who can kind of give him juice him for power to get to charge round 1. Since he's a range 3 attacker, he can kind of punch people off of a medium base, medium move charge. So you can, depending on the scenario, you can get 2 attacks with him round 1, which is, I mean, man, if you can spike on for the Empress and Empire charge, like having two tokens going into round 2 is really good. Having 3 is even better. So can get real
Alex?
crazy. If you have 3 and you charge top around 2 and you get up to 5 and then you I-beam for 10, it's gonna get disgusting. That's kind of goes back to like the whole feast or famine thing though. If he's able to like chip you with deal at least 1 damage, he's gonna be really deadly.
Yep.
Well, and the
Alex?
other thing
Oh,
going
yeah.
on this about Steve 1 is Steve 1 has bodyguard, which is pretty useful at keeping this guy's confidence tokens.
Good call.
Yeah. Alex, any other
And
thoughts?
Black Bolt. Black Bolt also has bodyguard.
Oh yeah, and can juice him up power wise too. Sure. Alex, any other thoughts on affiliation homes for Gladiator?
We covered Professor X a little bit. And that personally is my spot. I think he fits in the best. Just because thematically it works, and then getting the rerolls, and honestly getting the defensive buff from some of those other characters in that affiliation is going to be super nice too. It'll keep his confidence tokens, hopefully. And then with the rerolls that Chuck can give, I think it's a nice stacking bonus for him. It's putting a lot of resources into one model to keep the ball rolling, but man, he's a 6 threat, and if you can keep that snowball going, I will gladly sacrifice a 4 threat and a 3 threat from doing cool things if I can get my 6 threat to just dominate the table.
Yeah.
Well, and that's the other thing too. Xavier's Dream seems pretty freaking good on him too.
Yup.
Yeah, it does. It does. Okay. Any kind of closing thoughts on Gladiator? What his place in the meta is going to be? Whether we think he's worth his threat? Just any kind of final thoughts, David?
I think this character is going to be one of those characters that's probably going to cause a lot of divisiveness in the community. Like for me, I'm kind of like, I like to see these big guys. I like to try to figure out how to get around them or play with them or whatever. But there's going to be people out there that are going to get wrecked by this guy, and the outcry is going to be, it's going to be rough.
JP, what do you think?
I agree with David. I think one slight nuance to this is that he is unaffiliated, so hold on one sec. He's unaffiliated, so I don't know. The kaijus that have been dominant the past 2 LVOs. Like it was Luca versus Eric in the finals this year, and they both brought Asgard with Fat Thor. So Fat Thor was affiliated in their roster or in their squad. The year before, I was in the finals versus Gregory, and we both had Guardians with Ghost CGR, and CGR was with our squads. So Gladiator is not going to be affiliated with any squads, and I don't know. That's not nothing. So it'll be interesting to see if Gladiator will be as dominating as Fat Thor and CGR were in their relative LVO final showings. Assuming he gets to LVO finals, but like I don't. It'll be interesting. I don't know. We haven't
Counterpoint to what you mentioned with your finals game, JP. You and Gregory both had 2 kaijus, and one of them was
fair.
Hulk, which was
No,
unaffiliated.
That is fair. And Hulk is very good.
Yeah.
Now, granted,
we'll have to
it
see.
could be comparing apples to oranges when you're comparing Hulk to Gladiator, but
I do think
he was unaffiliated.
That's true. That is very true. I don't have an argument against that. And Hulk, I think Gladiator is probably, I mean, he and Hulk kind of have different roles, but I think Gladiator has the potential to be as impactful in a meta as Hulk did or does. So We shall see.
Alex, any kind of closing thoughts on Gladiator?
Nope. JP actually segued it very well with his comment about the LVO finals. And I was going to mention that, because he's unaffiliated doesn't necessarily mean he's not going to be a monster in any way, shape, or form. Like he'll find his home, just like Hulk. I mean, Hulk already has homes, but I think Hulk is definitely, without a doubt, the most splashed 6 in the game because he's so good. And I mean, he's just got so many places he can go. So I don't think Gladiator's necessarily in a bad spot being unaffiliated.
I think with his vulnerability to conditions, with a lack of defensive tech, I kind of think he's gonna cause a freak out when sort of he first hits the table, but I think he's gonna get figured out pretty quick, and I think in 3 months' time, Gladiator will be fine. He'll probably even be good, but I don't think he's going to be the menace potentially that King Black Bolt's going to be, but I guess we'll find out. Okay. What do you think, Webheads? Is Gladiator the next menace? Is he going to be the next thing everybody's going to be complaining about? Or are you looking forward to playing him? Let us know. You can follow us on all the socials at Witty Bantercast. You can email us at wittybantercast@gmail.com, and you can help support us at patreon.com/wittybantercast. Don't forget that you got to get your entries in before our next cast so you can be entered into our giveaway. So you can win Gladiator, and you can be the problem in your meta. Won't that be fun? Thanks for joining us, Webheads. Until next time, be good.